feedback and walk it back when they bring it down from 500 to 250.
I too read that Reddit post, Mason.
Yeah, that's why I said I saw a video on it. Yeah. Someone made a video on it, John.
Well, it's very likely that's probably what's going to happen, but I mean, in the end, people are going to buy it, and people are not going to buy it. It is what it is.
Yeah.
I don't like everyone's going to complain about it, but it's like, guys, they can do what they want. They've done stupider things before.
Fair. It's just.
Hold on, I should close my 7,000 things that shouldn't be open right now.
Again, I think it's just the long con that they want people to just use Faker's actual RE skin that he uses in game.
Okay. Original.
Oh,
yeah, the original default
skin. People are
skin.
gonna see that I pay for Adobe.
Oh, that is kind of cringe.
Yeah, just a bit. Well, it's actually really hard. It's really hard to use those products and not do that. They're kind of asshats when it comes to that.
True.
So, welcome everybody. We're live.
Hello.
Whoa.
My internet's being very odd right now.
Sick.
The bandwidth, like literally, I can do one thing on this computer, and if I do more than one thing, it stops.
Well, it's a good thing. This is the only thing you have to do right now.
Like, I clicked into another Discord chat to look at things, and as it was loading the profile pictures, I saw my video connected thing go to red.
That's not good.
Yeah.
That sounds fine.
Where else do I send this? I feel like I send this more places, but streams. Twitch links. I haven't fucking posted in that channel in a while. Oh well, I won't worry about it. Well, this should be good. Welcome everybody. We're live. It's the spring season, episode 3. We got 9 shows left. We're ahead of the curve. Feels a little weird, but also feels kind of right. This week's power ranking split's gonna be the 3-3-3 split. Where there's a top 3, bottom 3, middle 3. I don't know if that's accurate, but it's gonna be like that. I think there's a lot of middle in this season. But we'll get into that. I think
that's fair to say.
We'll get into that. Real quick, I want to shout out this week's chapter of Dogs Red, which Michael reminded me I needed to read, for which perhaps the greatest character of all time gets introduced. I'm very excited to see more of her.
That's the whole chapter.
It's quite literally a character introduction. It's the entire chapter. And
oh my! Like 20 pages in a whole month.
Oh my god! I think I know what took so long to draw in this chapter. Wild name for a chapter for what it is. Because they don't even like fully come around to that point, but crazy. You might notice we're joined by a new guest. She's just gonna sit between Mason and John on screen. She's also going to be the screen cap for that show this week, and she's going to be on the power ranking screen, and you're just going to have to deal with it. If you guys are wondering, because you're afraid of pulling it up,
you know, I can't bring stream up, or my internet's gonna explode.
I'm sure this was the thing you were talking about, Michael, where you said you saw this GIF for this show.
Yes.
No, I saw a different one too.
I mean,
she's like slowly falling asleep as they did business talk. I think we already saw that one.
Yes, that was earlier. But there's another part in this episode where she does something similar that's really good. But we'll talk about that show when we get there. But yeah, she's just gonna be joining us for a while until I get bored of her. Who knows? There's gonna be spoilers. There's gonna be spoilers for these episodes. We're up to episode 5 of everything. We don't talk about things past episode 5. There's gonna be harsh language. And yeah, I think I'll be with you. It's 11:55. We just get into this. Because I'd rather just get into this. At which point, let me bring up the thingamabobber.
The rankings of power?
Yeah, the powers of rank.
Powers of rank. The solo leveled.
So let's go on in. Let's get in here. Power rankings. I don't particularly like my power ranking this week because
Let me be honest, I don't either.
I will say only feel really good about my top 3 and my bottom show. Everything else, I either think is probably in the right spot, or I wish I didn't have to put it in that spot that it's at. But that's the way it goes.
That is the way the cookie crumbles.
Well, we wound it up with so little bolds.
Yeah.
There's a really funny bold on there.
Yeah, Michael sucks.
2 shows are drastically in a crazy spot. By that I mean the same show is drastically in 2 different spots, and we'll talk about it. But let's Michael, let's talk about a show that I have really high this week, and you've always had high.
Yeah.
Let's talk about
Girls of the Band That Cry.
I fucking love this screenshot.
It's a very good screenshot. When I first watched this episode, I knew that this is what I had to get. Something from this exchange where she's just spitting nonsense.
Yeah.
I don't know how this was in John's subtitles because he doesn't watch the funny ones, or the ones I get.
I had pretty funny subtitles too. It was pretty similar.
But yeah, so this episode, they are gonna do. They're planning to do. They're doing an onstage concert, kind of like how. My brain just thinks of this as when Kazoku Band and Bocchi the Rock does that first thing. This is a little later into their things. They're like more actually ready, but they're like in a club, like actually like proper, like music locale. It looks a lot like the Bocchi the Rock one. That's why that one. Yeah. That's what comes up. It's just how those buildings are made. And so most of this episode focuses on like a few major things, which is they get tickets to go to Diamond Dust. Also, Nina is apparently someone who knows the new singer of Diamond Dust, and apparently there's a real bad blood between the two of them. We don't know exactly why. We just know Nina hates this bitch, and this bitch apparently is not a fan of Nina. And a big crux of this episode is Nina going, Void is like my favorite song ever. I hate the fact that I'm hearing her sing it, because we don't know why exactly she hates her that much. It's also the fact that it's Momoka's song, and Momoka's no longer in the group, and it sucks to hear a different group singing Momoka's song. So we have a really big, like, all-out word battle between the two of them in a restaurant, where they're just going at each other. It's like, Momoka, why do you not care that they're taking your song from you? Why do you not care that this is what Diamond Dust has become? And she goes, well, Diamond Dust was never supposed to be a rock group. It was supposed to be a group that we stuck together in, and I'm the one who chose to leave. So she personally feels guilt for it, and I think that's rad as fuck. Crazy, you have people with problems. This entire time, I was trying her Super is trying her absolute hardest to make them not do this, as they are throwing drinks at each other. So earlier on in the episode, where the screenshot comes from, they go to watch the Diamond Dust concert, and she runs out and goes, Subaru, I'm about to say some bad shit, so give me a second. And then just spits gibberish for 5 seconds, and then says, go fuck yourself. Based scene.
Based.
And then at the end of their big fight in the restaurant, because the two of them, Momoka and Nina have drinks on their face now. Well, the whole band needs to get it. So we have a great scene which is Nina slowly lifting a drink and just pouring it onto Subaru's head, and she's like, "What the fuck?" And then we get a insert song at the end, the song "What to Raise," where we get the three of them wearing shirts that say, "Liar,"
quitter,
dropout.
Yeah, liar, dropout, and quitter. You can guess who those all belong to. But yeah, good ass song, good ass performance. I love this episode. I think their big heart's amazing.
So I am not the biggest fan of this song, and I know why. And it's 'cause it only has the 2 instruments and the vocals.
Does it? It definitely has bass guitar in it.
It has bass.
300% has bass. so
Not
that's just
not enough for me to. I'm bad,
It's
so I don't
pretty
know.
noticeable for me. I don't know how you Mason. It was like
I don't-
pretty dense.
I don't hear a keyboard though.
Maybe, but they played a really sick bass line for sure. I can tell you that.
Bass, it was great.
I'm not-
Unfortunately, we don't have a bassist.
I'm
They had
not
a
a,
sick bass line.
I'm not a music person, and for me, this felt less full compared to the other ones we've gotten from this show. Which I had figured was because they were doing less instruments because it's actually just the three of them. Perhaps not. I trust you guys that you can hear actual music, and understand it. So there you go. Why the fuck is this idol group singing Void?
I
What
don't-
a
Oh, you
weird.
know, because it's their song and it's the most popular song this group's ever made. That's like the
Yeah.
big thing.
That's the weird
just
thing. Is
feels-
like, yes, it's a popular song for the group, but
It-
it also doesn't
It
fit their.
really
mold anymore.
doesn't fit the current image.
No.
It like makes it seem like they're just the old band,
cover
but
band.
looking like an idol group, which I don't think is what they're going for. From how it is talked about in the rest of this episode, but I really adore this episode. I basically love every character interaction for the entirety of the episode. I think this is a bunch of cool stuff to be doing. And you get Nina selling the tickets is a really good bit.
Yeah, I completely forgot about that. Yeah.
Yeah, I really like that
Well, I remembered
for
it. I
her
forgot I
character.
didn't mention it.
It's fine. I really like it for her character as being like a look. I fucked up, but if your rest of your friends want to go, and she's like, no, why would I do that? But now they're hooked. Now she's gonna bring the rest of her friends next time, so Nina succeeds. It's great,
True.
and we're also gonna get the next band members because they were there and they heard them play.
Maybe.
God, seeing the
And they're
piano
gonna-
player jumping up during the song is one of my favorite parts of
And they're
this.
gonna walk up to them.
song.
They're gonna walk up to them and go, "Where'd you get that sick bass line from? You have no bass guitarist. Let me help you."
Right.
So that was a sick bass.
you,
like, in
you
your song,
could, you
they have a
could
bass guitarist.
argue
You want a bass
Momoka
guitarist?
knows how to play bass enough to have recorded it.
But they're doing a live
that's-
performance, so it wouldn't. It would be weird.
No, you could have a pedal. just
Yes, but
press
they.
it.
They did show the
But they
thing,
don't-
Yeah.
I don't think they actually.
Again, that's probably not what
No,
happened.
I
It's
think-
probably
I
just
think
them
they
going
would-
without bass. The song sounds really awkward.
I think they would make a note of it. If
Yeah.
they were
And a
doing
bass is
it.
much less noticeable than a piano would be. Like
Yeah.
it was super noticeable in when they played Void in the first episode and they played the fucking piano bits.
Yeah, unless you know what you're listening for, it is hard to notice some things that like are like.
I'm also just not
there or
amused.
not there,
Like
but I get it,
legitimately, like if you sat me down and was like, Sean, pick out the bass. Fuck me, dude. I'm not that type of person when it comes to music. Like
That's
maybe,
okay.
but the chance that I'm gonna get it right 80% of the time, no.
Sure.
No, I really like this episode though. That's why the show went so much higher for me this week because this was wonderful. I think that Nina and Subaru's dynamic in this is very much to me is very similar to the character types that is Ruby and Weiss and Ruby, and I adore Ruby and Weiss's every single bit they run with each other, and that's how I feel about these two. Is that whenever Nina and Subaru run a bit, I enjoy it greatly.
Yeah, I definitely enjoyed the interaction between the two. And then, yeah, like Momoko is just like the mom who's just there, like, children, please stop fighting. It is time to play music.
I mean, the whole entire argument between Nina and Momoka is really well done. Because it's not. It is a complicated issue. And on one hand, Momoka's right. Nina doesn't really have a place to say anything about it. But also, Nina is calling her out on her bullshit. She is she certainly does feel a certain way that she is not allowing herself to express because she feels like it would be wrong of her to do so.
Mm-hmm.
And Momoka definitely does feel like the person out of the Diamond Dust group who would be the most not okay with a sudden change in style. Because it feels the most close to her own personal style. And I don't want to. I personally feel like, yeah, your vocalist is probably the one who's gonna have the biggest problem doing a change like this.
I mean, she didn't want to sell out, man. She didn't want to sell it to the man. She wanted to keep the band organic.
But also, like, you're a vocalist. And they wanted to send you to pop. I don't know about that. They want to send you to
It worked for
Idol.
Taylor Swift.
I think the genres are a little the genres are a little different here, and there's a couple of other problems.
Oh,
I
you
don't
would
know,
argue rock to pop is just as wild
pretty
as
far
country
away
to
from
pop.
pop sometimes, but
I argue nowadays, not really.
nowadays no.
No,
But, like,
just
back
because
in- back
pop
in the
country is
day-
just the country music now.
Yes,
Yeah.
but
But
we're not here to argue
sorry, I'll
country
try,
and pop.
But
We're here to have girls in a band that cry.
I do agree that this episode was good. I just happened to like the other music show better this week, and I'll explain why later. But no, I think the show is still fine. It's still good. It's just like of the 3 gay shows we have, it's the lowest one on there. Is how I describe it. But yeah, there's nothing against Girls Band Cry. It's just I liked a lot of the shows we had this week a little better than it, which is surprising because of how much I have not liked Yatagarasu so far this season for so many people. But no, yeah, I think it was good. I don't got much more to say about it. You guys kind of touched on a lot of the ongoings of the episode.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed the actual like visuals for this performance. The camera's like super dynamic, and the group's just really fun to watch in this because they're all moving, they're grooving. It's just a real fun song performance.
I know I have this relatively low on my list, but I did really enjoy this episode. I just liked everything that's above it.
We had
slightly
some
more.
pretty good episodes this week.
Yeah.
I
thought it was
I
just some
hold
pretty decent episodes. This week.
Yeah, I was gonna say I kind of hold the opposite opinion. Where this to me, I told Mason this. I do this for my own personal thing. I don't ever try to necessarily bring it onto the podcast. But notoriously, every season when I watch an episode, I rank the episode on the Mal ranking scale of how it ranks the actual anime. So very few episodes ever go below a 6. Very like. In the history of this podcast, maybe only 2 shows would deserve below a 4, for the quality of episode it would give me. There are. Appalling is not
of the podcast.
Yes, appalling is not a word I would use for a lot. I'm very generous. I can tell you the shows I'm
But
thinking
we've had
of.
shit like X-Arm and Gibby 8 on this podcast.
But and you know what? Even then,
Train Does Go
I think
Blues.
those hit just bad. I don't think those hit appalling. There are very few things that hit appalling for me.
Jorah.
I don't know, man.
No, that's really harsh.
Nah, Joran had 4 like 9 out of 10 episodes.
Yeah, if we
But
only
then
watched
you-
4 episodes of Joran.
we-
They're
you
really
guys-
good, guys. What do you mean?
You guys
got
gotta remember that I have watched horrible things that you have not been subjected to on this
Mason,
podcast.
you gotta remember, all 4 episodes of Joran were good.
Yeah,
No.
all 4 of them.
The
All
And it was
4,
done.
all 4
3
of them.
episodes of Jorah were good, and then it hadn't ended, and then there were 8 more
Yeah,
episodes
the
after.
4th episode was the ending. It was fine.
No, we didn't
Yeah,
watch. we
8
didn't
episodes of
watch
filler
that.
is really
Yeah,
weird.
except it ended halfway through the episode.
No, it's fine. Mason, no. See,
No, but what I was gonna say is that of the shows, only 3 of them I scored over a 7, and 7 is the good range. Because I just think a lot of these episodes this week were good. And in fact, I think probably more episodes this week had like a small thing going against them, kind of constantly. And I'll talk about those when we get there. Girls Band Cry wasn't one of them for me. It was one of the ones that scored over a 7. In fact, we're going to be talking about the 3 shows that scored over a 7 pretty quickly on this podcast. For me, because they all
really,
happen to
Glacial
be.
scored that high?
I said pretty quickly. I didn't say immediately. My power ranking probably makes it clear what 3 shows were the ones that scored over a 7. But Mason,
I
let's talk
cannot
about
wait till we
Windbreaker.
get to the end.
So Windbreaker this week, we're starting the 5-on-5 team battle. And first up, we have Sugishita versus...
Does it matter who he is?
It doesn't matter. He doesn't exist in the
His
show.
name is Arima, I think.
I think so.
Yeah, because the other guy shouts it a lot.
Yeah. That first fight, we have...
It's not fight.
It's not a
It's
fight.
technically a fight.
It's
Both of these
Arima-
were technically fights.
I mean, true. It is an immediate
It is an
knockout.
exchanging of blows.
So, first of all, we get to the devotees of power, Shishitoran's hideout, which is it's an abandoned movie theater that we find out at the end of the episode catered only to shark movies for some reason.
Did we?
I mean,
When
we
did
know why
I-
it's abandoned.
It's in the little chibi thing at the very end of the
Oh.
episode.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's it.
it's just shark movies for some reason. They're like, yeah, I guess I see why this place went out of business.
Who could believe that it failed after showing all 7 Sharknadoes?
Right. So, first fight is Sugishita versus Arima. And how this fight goes down is Arima tries to get a cheap shot in, punches Sugishita directly in the face, and then proceeds to get absolutely fucking decimated in one hit by Sugishita grabbing his face and throwing him to the ground. It's
By
great.
the way, one of the most brutal ways to ever lose a fight, because it happens a lot in anime. It's just face, hand, doosh. All right, done.
The group refers to this as he punched him. He didn't punch him. He very much did not punch this
He
man.
didn't punch him. He just grabbed him and pushed.
He
just-
kindly
he-
guided his face to the floor
He
where it
face
belonged,
planted him. Yeah.
so that he may apologize for not using San after his name.
Yeah, because he insulted Umemiya.
Wrong move.
Next up, we have Suo and Lil Baby Boy. I don't remember his name either,
I
but
think his name was Little Baby Boy.
You know
Okay,
what?
no,
I-
his name is Baby.
For what it's worth, I really like this character for how, like,
Yeah,
for
no,
what
no,
hap-
he's
for what happens.
he
to-
is
I-
honestly really good.
Yeah.
he really
He's
sucked.
also paired up with actually one of the best characters of the season.
Yeah.
Yes.
I also appreciate
Oh,
calling
you
a
Might be
hypocrite.
literally my favorite character this
I
season.
appreciate calling a hypocrite a hypocrite.
What do you mean? He's just a gentleman.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Suo. So how this fight starts is Suo
This screenshot is
Uh,
funny.
Sakura says something, and Suo goes, "You know, when I first heard you say you wanted to get to the top, I thought you were." I didn't see the screenshot. So he stands up to go to the fight. And he goes, "Sakura, when you first said you were aiming for the top, I thought you were just saying empty words. After watching all that you've done and how you want to defend this town and fights you do, I'm taking you seriously, which means I have to take this seriously." He then proceeds to go up onto the stage where they are fighting and just styles on this man for a solid 15 minutes.
I mean, he just plays with the guy.
He puts the leader of Shishitora to sleep.
Yes, he makes it. He's so fast and so agile. I believe he also does. His style of fighting is it's not capoeira.
I don't know if they fully say it.
But basically, it's a style of fighting where he's using his enemies' momentum against them and just countering or parrying every single punch he throws.
That's cheating.
You ever see a man get demoralized?
You watch this man lose all faith in himself over the entire course of this fight, and meanwhile, Suo is trying to explain to him, "So you're a little baby boy. You know what you need to become an adult? You need an imagination.
And-
See that? You're imagining the fact that you're gonna lose this fight now, and what's gonna happen afterwards. You know what the second thing you need to become an adult is? Experience. Let me give it to you." And proceeds to beat his ass.
Does he ever
Follow-up
actually
is-
hit the guy, or does he just kind of mess with him the whole time until the
He-
Shishitora guys just go, "We're
He
good."
does
To the
for a
ground.
little bit. Yeah.
He throws him to the ground a couple of times, but he never actually punches him, as far as I can see. And it eventually gets to the point where the second in command, Joe, and Choji, the first in command of Shishitori, just tell him to stop because he's making an absolute fool of them at this point, and tells them, "Yeah, no, you're not part of the gang anymore. Get out."
Man, Sakura's in trouble. Sakura's gonna get his ass handed to him.
Yeah,
Right.
I feel like it'd
His-
be crazy for us to go to this final fight without it being tied, which means these next two fights are going to be
Which
brutal.
They set up that it doesn't matter how anyone else fights.
Yeah.
But after
What
two
is
after
it?
two ass whoopings, Shishitora he is so mad. This vice commander he is ready to kick the shit out of Sakura, and it's gonna happen. Like
Mhm.
I think Sakura will put up a fight, but I don't
think he's gonna win.
I don't know, guys. I think he's got a shot at not dying.
Oh no, I agree with that.
True.
I don't think our main character's gonna die next episode.
I-
but-
Hopefully.
I honestly don't know. Like, they're a little upset. And someone's got to be the punching bag here, and it's gonna be our boy. And
I
oh
mean,
boy,
I imagine we're gonna
Indeed,
have
fairies.
the other two fights next week, and then Uemiya's fight the week after.
that sounds about right.
We might start the fight, but we're certainly not gonna get through all of Uemiya's fight this week.
No.
Because I'm sure we're gonna have a decent amount of backstory injected for the other fight.
Yeah.
Some monologues.
I don't know. Knowing how Choji is acting, we might just like do Umamiya in his fight like next, and then get the other fights out of the way later.
It is. I don't know. I don't think so. I think they're all.
no, they'll
I
save
think
the main event for last.
think they
That's what
are
he
gonna
said when they
save
came
it.
in.
Fair.
like because that's why I think Sakura's fight is next. Is because I think he's gonna go. Okay, I'm tired of watching you make a mockery of our gang. I'm gonna beat the shit out of this freshman.
Fair. But yeah. This episode's really good.
Oh yeah, this episode fucking rules.
I'm very happy that we're getting into the actual fights again, because holy shit, the fight choreography in the show is so pretty.
You know, this episode. If Girls Band Cry didn't exist, this would be number one. The issue is that Girls Band Cry exists, therefore.
So Michael cannot move it.
And by law.
I know you don't understand.
As it is written. But no, I think Mason kind of touched on it.
As
This
written.
show's really good. The action's really good. The plot's really good. I like the fighting. I like it. This is everything we wanted out of Buchigiri, but better.
Yeah.
Yep.
We don't have a
Great.
shitty main character.
And this
We have
also doesn't
great
have some goofy ass plot MacGuffin genie in his ass.
God, yeah.
But it was funny. He's also not as horny.
Was it?
It was kind of funny, like the first
Was
time.
it?
It was kind of funny.
Well, let's talk about the GIF in the room, and the entire episode surrounding it, and the position it is on PR rankings as we go. John, talk to us about Spice and Wolf.
All right. So Spice and Wolf this week, we have Holo who was kidnapped, and we have Kraft who's finally trying to save him. And they go back and forth as to like what the plan is going to be. He's like, no, do this, no, do this, no, do this. And he's like, I got it. You guys just let them make more money. You'll still make money, and then we also get Hollow out. And he's like, that's a terrible plan when we could just make more money, basically. And so what they end up coming up with is they break into where they're keeping Hollow and frame it like a burglary while going in the secret underground tunnels of the city to go rescue her. Mason, why are you looking confused?
I'm looking at what Sean is doing.
I was like, I'm
You're good,
pretty
keep
sure I'm
going.
right on this.
No, you're right. You're good.
But basically, Kraft works
Sean.
with the Merchant Guild to go into the underground tunnels, which are like used for like trading and illegal activities through the church, and the alternative trading guild, to go rescue Holo, where he just waits underneath for her to kind of like, I guess the floor opens up from this one spot in this jail cell, or wherever it is in this where they're kidnapping him, and basically they rescue Holo via this like secret passageway, and say, okay, you guys need to complete the deal with them. We're just gonna run until it's done, is the plan. And then in the cart ride where they're escaping, they have their lover spat where they go back and forth about like, you should have been the one to come save me. And he's like, I know, but I don't do that because I'm not a fighter. I'm a merchant. And finally, she reveals that the guy that we saw walking down the steps was actually the one kid from the festival back in the town where she was originally held at, who basically came down and went, we don't need you anymore. We're giving you to the church to be like basically murdered and removed from existence because humankind doesn't need you anymore. And is somehow still working with the church to track her down, I guess, for some reason, as opposed to like just, I don't know, going to be a farmer again because it doesn't matter because if you don't need her, why do you care? I
But
guess.
Don't forget that his role is that he bargains with the nobles for deals for his town. So he actively has a hand with like money transfer and like nobility in the church. So him being here makes sense.
It does make sense, but it's just an interesting choice of like why he's it seemingly like working with the church to go track down Holo now, because he's found in a wagon with a bunch of the members, and so obviously he's a part of this thing to try to capture Holo and turn her over to the church. Could be through money, could be for other reasons.
Yeah,
but,
we don't know a lot about that yet.
But interesting turn of events that he's the one that's going after her, for the church basically, and so now our main two protagonists are on the lam, running away. My favorite part of this episode though was the exchange where they're like, "Hey, we're here. Are you guys done with your lover spat yet? Cool."
Yeah.
And then Lloyd gives the guy some information like, "Hey, tell them this and what's going on with this trading deal." And then the other driver just goes, "You make me want to be a merchant again." He's like, "No, you'll pick up stragglers like this one." He's like, "Yeah, but the front sits better with two people in it." I'm like, "That's fair."
Yeah, that
That's
entire
good,
segment's really good for the episode.
Other than that, the episode was kind of mid, I'll be honest.
Yeah.
Overall, I like the show still enough to rate it highly. God, that fucking screenshot. I just looked in the chat. But overall, I still like the show a lot, and I'm interested to see where it goes. But it's definitely like one of those slower burns is the thing, and this is definitely a down episode where it's like it feels like a lot of the tension was resolved pretty quickly because we didn't see any more tension arise from their escapades. Like, okay, they got her out really, really easily, actually.
Yeah.
Cool. We got some code words now to use.
I think this episode's biggest problem is that Kraft does so little.
Yeah, he goes into a tunnel and he waits.
Yeah, and I get that
That's it.
I get what they do with it. Speaking of as someone from personal experience, I find a lot of how Holo talks to Kraft about like you didn't rush in and save me like the damsel as the man. I fucking hate that shit. So like that entire spat is like huge like brain
I don't think
turn off for me.
it's a be a man thing. It's a like I wanted you to be the one to rescue me kind of thing. More than that, but I get it.
It's his play. It's his play, kind of his plan. He got them
It's
there.
basically his plan, actually.
There's a lot in this episode that it's like we're gonna give it that all of this can work and will work, and that there are systems in place for it, and there's not really been any particular setup for that being the case until this episode, where it's like, yeah, we have this system underground tunnels, we use this for that, and we have code words for this, and then we have people who will get in and can get her out because we know where she's being.
Man, this was really easy.
It's a lot of like, we're just gonna give you this to get her out of there. I don't know. To me, that was not particularly interesting. Which is a large area where like this episode kind of dulled for me, especially because I think Kraft is so smart, and like a lot of the conversation and intrigue behind things before has been interesting. That this one was kind of like okay, I'll go with it. We have Holo back, yay.
Yeah. Holo's back, so I'll allow it.
Yeah. The Uri thing's interesting. I'm interested to see where it's gonna. I wasn't expecting it. I'm interested to see. I thought it was just gonna be a new character, so I'm interested to see where it goes.
I was gonna be a new character or one of the old characters that she referenced from her past.
Yeah.
But especially with like the face she made, where she was like really surprised about it, as if like it was really something that just was kind of caught her off guard.
Especially since she didn't necessarily have particular interactions with Uri besides him being a part of that village.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I rated this show higher, simply because I think the show in general has been really good.
Yeah.
I didn't want to bring it down too low, but I do agree that this episode was not nearly as good as the past few of them.
Yeah, not much more to add to that. This episode was fine. I didn't like dislike the thing like Sean mentioned, like that conversation of her like going off on him there. Just I thought she was gonna have a completely different place she went with it, because when that happens, like when she goes away from him and gets caught, what she does actually nothing, because she still gets people on him within about 3 seconds of walking out, because he didn't wait long enough. Mm-hmm. And I was like, is she just gonna be mad at him for fucking up the plan? Because that would make more sense in this scenario. But like, yeah, it is kind of cute that she's like, I want you to save me, but it's also like, okay, whatever.
Okay, but like I did, but like just not in the way you wanted.
But also, especially because she's like, "Don't worry about me. I'm not gonna get caught. But if I do get caught, I know you will get me out."
Immediately gets caught.
And like, he does get her out. It's just he doesn't charge down and beat the shit out of 17 guys. Like, what do you expect of him?
Yeah.
He's just a dude.
It's also really weird because I'm pretty sure they mentioned, at least I believe this, unless I misheard it. These tunnels were originally things made by the church for like tax evasion.
Yep.
Why is the church, the people who are holding Hollow currently, why are they not guarding these tunnels, knowing they can break into the church?
My guess is
Because
they
it's
don't.
incredibly
My
hard
guess
to
is
guard
they
them.
somehow
don't.
use
Because
the
they're so
church
dark,
thing to
too.
get someone from
Yeah.
the church.
My guess is they just don't think that the other merchant guild knows about it to that degree.
That,
Yeah,
and also
it's
you don't want
fair.
to draw too much attention to it by having people down there and going, oh, these tunnels? Oh, well, because they are just basically sewer tunnels. It's like, why are there church people in the tunnels? Oh, well, we're just hanging out. No reason why
Well,
we're
I'm-
down here.
My thing is, why would anyone care? Like you just have like a person stationed, like at certain place just to like know,
My
because
logic is why
they
have
get
them
hollow out
stationed
real
somewhere.
easily, which feels really odd. I mean, it's also just
That was the weird thing is that they got it
how
out
easy
really
they get
easily.
hollow out.
Yeah.
I mean, it has to be that the guy who they have is a rat in the group, but like, there's no
Yeah.
establishment that like they at the start of this episode they work their way to figuring out it's the church. It's like and it's not exactly that, we don't even know for sure it's the church that has it, because this group is threatening to turn her over to the church. So it's not, they're a
Okay.
separate organization that lies between the merchant guild and the church.
It's a different merchant.
Yeah, that's what I mean. The
different
merchant
merchant
guild,
guild
the
with the
merchant guild
church.
who started this plot, and the church. I mean, and again, they mentioned that there is that this guild probably has the backing of some noble to be doing all this movement of the money, and
at the same
obviously,
time, they don't.
then you have Uri, who we know directly works with nobles. So like, it makes sense that he is there. So in that regard, like, I think that part is very clear and very well thought out. I don't. For me, the big thing with this show, for why it's where it is just that, like, I am far more interested in most of our other shows right now.
That's fair.
Like, I like the show. I think it's pretty. I think it's nice. I have no hesitation when I think that it is its time to vote this show off, and then like come back to it when the entire season is out, because I feel like that might be a more enjoyable way to watch this. Than week by week on a slow build of a show that I'm not as excited to watch every week.
I think you can definitely feel like an older, because it's like an older show, so of course it's gonna be like that older, like almost like meant to be binged kind of style of anime, where they were like longer like series and like more like
Yeah.
sit down and watch a couple episodes at once, not one, kind of things.
Mm,
Back when we had attention spans,
yeah.
but no, I can get that shown for sure.
Yeah, I also think that, like, the thing that is probably most appealing for me about this show is stuff we haven't gotten. Like, the actual more fantasy element of this and the more travel element of it we have not gotten since the first episode. And that is by far, like, the place that this is going to hook me more of. But,
Show me more of the mythical like farm gods and stuff. And all
Yeah,
that
not
stuff.
enough-
Kraft has also been making the same business deal for like 3 episodes at this point.
Yeah.
He's just trying to get some Trenny Silver, apparently. Do some Trenny Silver money laundering bullshit.
He's
Or
just
whatever,
doing,
not
just doing a little money laundering, guys.
Just a bit.
It's fine.
Just a
Doing a
little.
little bit of sillies.
Just a little bit of chutzpah, you know what I'm saying?
but let's...
I do enjoy that he goes, if you don't help me, I will
I will
call you
turn
the
you over."
fuck out on the shit you are doing right now.
Yeah.
Which honestly based. As he should.
He knows what cards he has and he knows when to play them.
Yeah.
Kraft,
Well, and-
great character.
It
Kraft and
just-
Hollow are both fucking amazing. I love these two.
Like,
Yeah.
that's why
it's-
this episode felt
great.
kind of bad, is because there wasn't as much Craft and Hollow. It was just Craft. Same,
Yeah,
it was
like-
the same issue we had last week, where it's just like, I like Craft, I like Hollow, but we like them together.
But also, like, I like Kraft when he does things, and for a large portion of this episode, he doesn't do anything.
Yeah.
He just
This
stands
is the
in a
problem.
tunnel.
We got
He
Kraft and
stands in
Hollow
a
back
tunnel
when
and
they
he
didn't do
goes,
stuff.
"Am I at the right spot?" And he is.
And Well, and the thing too, going back to what Michael said earlier, yes, he knows his cards, but in this episode specifically, he doesn't even get to say when he uses that card because the other guy that he's talking with, that's the head of the company, is the one that goes, "Yeah, but if we did that, you would testify against us. We know that." He's like, "I mean, yeah,
No, well,
definitely we do that."
Kraft is the one that says that. I'm pretty sure.
No, the
No,
guy
he-
brings it up first.
The guy brings it up first.
Okay.
But let's get a move on. So this week on Kaiju number 8, our boys are worried about whether they're gonna pass or not. This episode's called them joining the defense force, so I think we know whether they're gonna pass or not. But you know, I'm not gonna blame the
Does
anime
Goku
episode for
win?
that. Does Goku
Next
win?
episode,
Frieza
Frieza defeated.
Yeah.
But they get their letters. They both pass. Well,
Technically.
we don't know, because as we cut, Ichikawa is the only one there in the room, and some other guys are like, "Yo, where's your old man? What's going on with him?" And then they all shut the fuck up because Mina shows up, and Mina congratulates them, and then invites Shinomiya up. To do a speech that never happens. I'm pretty they made it seem I get maybe I thought that her accepting like it just going up was gonna also have her have a speech, but no, we don't get there. And then after the little bit of conversation, Kafka shows up and everyone's like, "What the fuck he's doing here?" And Hoshina reveals that he is a cadet, which is not the same as what they are. He's got to work even harder to get to where they are. And he's doing it for two major reasons. One, Kafka's funny as fuck. Two, he's sus as fuck. He has lots of suspicions about this. And so he wants to keep Kafka as close as physically possible. And then, Shinomiya is like, "Hey, I gotta fucking talk." Well, not yet. Then, Mina goes back to talking for a little bit, and Kafka loudly interjects that he wants to stand by Mina's side, and everyone goes, "What the fuck is wrong with you, dude?" And then he has to do 100 push-ups, to which everybody in the room goes, "Yeah, fucking do those push-ups, baby. Yeah, you got there. Let's fucking go." The greatest hype squad of all time.
He's like the mascot of this group of characters. He's like their mascot.
Everyone respects him as like the old man, but is also like kind of like, man, I kind of hope he succeeds, but just like slightly because he's not a threat to them, right? But they're like, okay,
He's trying his absolute damnedest.
well, he is actually a threat to them, but in a different way that we'll get to.
They don't know that yet.
Yeah, don't worry.
He's an underdog story.
only one of them
Who
know
doesn't
that,
look for
yeah.
an underdog story?
Well, no, not in that way.
Well,
He's a threat to their
yes,
goals.
true. Well, their goals are a little different, but we'll talk. But so Shinomiya is like, "Hey, I need to talk to you privately." Everyone goes, "Ooh," and she goes, "Not fucking like that. The man's like twice my age." Ishikawa's like, "Yeah, sure, we'll all talk privately." And in my brain, I'm like, Shinomiya's gotta be like, "Why the fuck are you coming along?" But it should be clear at this point to her that he also knows. And they meet in the cafe, and then they loudly talk about how Kafka's a kaiju. To which Ichikawa's like, "Please shut the fuck up." And Shinomiya's like, "Okay, I trust you. I won't rat on you. I appreciate what you did for me. You absolutely cannot tell the military that you are a kaiju. You will become a test subject, if not worse. Also, kaijus of your level get made into equipment. So, like, keep your mouth fucking shut, my dude." And then we get into the gang having some time. We get a bunch of training exercises where we see that Ichikawa's bringing out more of his strength. He's hitting those targets really well. And then we have our bro Iharu, who gets angry that Ichikawa keeps making personal bests, so he fucking pops off as well. And then Kafka's trying his best.
Kafka's there.
Yeah, Shinomiya's fucking destroying everybody. We have a really great set of dialogue between blue hair guy and the fucking built ass muscle man, where blue hair boy is like, "Well, I guess we're gonna have to settle for second place because Shinomiya's here." And he looks at him and he goes, I had the best physical fitness exam of anybody here. You can fight for second. I'm fighting for first." Which is a rad ass line.
Such a baseline.
This man is not afraid to be like, "I will catch up to this fucking prodigy twin-tailed child. I am not afraid of her." But so the gang has some fun times. They take baths together, to which we get the wonderful screenshot, which is Kafka showing off his fake muscles. They do such a good job of this scene of actually making him look ripped as fuck for a good hot minute, and I almost believe it. And then he beer bellies, and it's funny. And then Muscle Man walks in, everybody fucking hides in shame because they're twigs compared to that man. That man's a genetic freak.
I'm a genetic freak. I'm not normal.
Yeah. And then we cut to the girls. Before they bathe. What a wonderful concept that we can have important conversations not in a bath. And as Shinomiya and the other two girls who we have not, I don't think we've actually gotten their names yet, but they both look wonderful. Shinomiya stops because Mina's there, and she's like, "Hey, I have a question. How'd you get so fucking strong? Can I learn your workout routine?" And Mina's like, "Yeah, sure, right here." And she goes, "Wait, what? What do you mean right now?" And then we cut back.
Stop to give me 20. You got that?
And then we cut back to the boys in the bath, and they're all talking about why they all joined up, and all of their reasons are they heavily respect Mina. Some of them were saved by her. Some of them just idolize her. She quite literally is the pinnacle of this program. And everyone's like, "So, Kafka, what about you?" And he's like, "Oh, I was childhood friends with her." They go, "What the fuck did you just say? We want to know."
You're what?
We want to know everything. And then he starts going back to the beginning, and apparently that is exactly what they wanted. They wanted all the scoops. And we learned that later. And then we get an absolutely wonderful confrontation. We get some more training stuff of like the gang handing him water and like supporting him in everything he does. And then we see that Kafka does extra study and research and stuff while everybody else has already turned in for the night. And Hoshina comes to talk to him and is like, "Hey, did you know that part of your job is to fucking sleep, you idiot? You will die if you do not get rest." And Kafka's like, "Yeah, but I'm not gonna get fired from this. Like, I'm gonna make it." And Hoshina's like, "Oh, so you can stand next to Mina, huh?" And he's like, "Why do you know that?" And he's like, "Everything you say is recorded. Also, your goal is to replace me. Get the fuck out of here. Not gonna happen." And Kafka's like, "No, I'll do it." And he's like, "I like you, but I also hate you. Here's the key. Lock up when you're done." And a kaiju alarm goes off.
Also, think about the fact that he's like, everything you say is recorded. Well, they loudly have this conversation of him being a thing in the cafeteria.
Well, no, I think they went to a separate diner.
I went to a diner.
Is what it seemed like.
Forgot about
that. I think this episode's really fun. It's a lot of cooldown, which is why it's not as high. Like, this is you need this to build the group. Kafka also gets the warning of, don't get too close to these people. Any of these people can die at any time. Not ominous at all. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm very sad because I adore the one girl in the group with the blue flared out hair.
The fucking
the fact that we don't have her name spells not good things.
They're flags. They're not good flags.
Or in all honesty, in this type of show, that could be a good thing because it just means we'll learn more about her when she's relevant. And until she's relevant, she is safe. It can go either of the two ways.
I love your optimism, Sean.
Because she's fucking jacked.
Yeah, she's
not
great.
As jacked as the new character in Dog's Red, but she's fucking jacked.
Also, when the one guy walks in when they're first in the bath, you built like a fucking tank.
Yeah, he's a genetic freak. The dude's insane.
I'm a genetic freak.
The dude looks like new age wrestlers out of the early 2000s. All those guys were roided to hell. Some of them. This man is 2003 Brock Lesnar.
Current The Rock.
But I think this episode's super cool. There's a lot of really, really great moments between the casts that I think like make for great banter and giving as much character to you can to a fairly large group with as little time as you need to also keep progressing the story at a good pace. Number 8 good.
Also, this episode also introduces the concept of the numbers weapons, and those are really... I like those a lot.
Numbers of weapons.
Because, yeah, if you're a kaiju that got a number, you turn to a weapon. Have fun.
You gonna be weapon number 6 in a minute. You're not kaiju number 6. No, episode's good. I'm excited for more of the show because it's just goated. Honestly, is what it comes down to.
Oh, there's also a track that plays in this episode that rules. I think it just plays during the training montage.
Yes.
It's fucking.
There was some good ass music during some of these episodes this week.
But like, this is like another one where I'm like, yeah, what is this? What is this 2018 pop music? I love it.
Right?
This shows
There's just
a choice.
There's also something beautiful about how this and was it also Windbreaker that one of the other shows also had a just flat recap section at the beginning.
Yes.
Like a narrator recap section.
Yeah, Windbreaker.
Windbreaker did.
Was
yeah.
it Windbreaker? It's like when I was watching Kaiju, I was like, because I started this, I watched the beginning of it dubbed and then went, nah, don't love this cast.
Fair.
But I started dubbed and I was like, this just sounds like a Saturday morning cartoon, like
Yeah.
Toonami intro. This sounds
It's-
I keep it all in one place.
It fits both of these, and it also feels good because both of these shows hit a point where it's like, first mini arc done. You're on to the next set of things, and like reasonably, you might have binged the first 4. You're back now. Let's remind you where you've been.
I also just thought it was really funny.
They also
it's like that's
aren't...
just like it's like a big thing Kaiju's been is like it feels very it feels very Western the way it's built.
Mhm.
Which is what made that feel so funny to me.
The recaps also don't linger too long. They're quick,
Yeah.
which is like the
They're
really important thing.
They're not One Piece recaps.
Yeah, they're not early shonen recap.
Early One Piece, dude, where like you skip the first 6 minutes of the episode because the first 5 minutes is a recap, and then you have the intro.
Yep.
Yeah, and then you also have to skip the last 5 minutes because you have the ED into some
Into
other
preview. Into preview of the next episode that is 2.5 minutes
okay.
for some reason.
Random side tangent. First off, Kaiju number 8, great episode. Excited for more, as always. But can we talk about that for a second? Like, One Piece, what the fuck? Like, yeah, don't tell me One Piece is too long. You literally can skip like half of each episode for the first like 800 episodes.
My
One
favorite
Piece
thing.
exists.
My favorite thing about watching One Piece when I was watching it was on the old Crunchyroll site where the comments were like you could still see the comments immediately, right under the video, and every single time the top comment on every single One Piece episode was the exact point in the episode where the episode actually started. It was wonderful.
Yeah, we call those people heroes.
Yes, they really are.
They're the ones who sit in the YouTube videos for you and they timestamp every time a new thing. They do the job that the actual content creator is supposed to do, which is give you timestamps for when things change in the video, but no one has time to go through and timestamp it unless they're doing it in creation process. Where it's like, hey, they talk about the important thing you want here. Are you looking for the part of the D&D campaign where the ghost clown shows up? It's this episode. There are people who do that on that campaign, by the way, where they're like, oh, you're here for episode 1. It's not here yet. You're gonna want this episode and this timestamp. It's like, why the fuck are you in episode? Thank you. What the fuck are you doing here?
Thank you, but like, what the fuck? Why?
Why do you know how we think?
Same thing happens with Pokemon, where like whenever there's a regional, there's one person in the comments who just timestamps every single match.
Yeah, but
And
no,
it's like, thank you.
Yeah, no, it's fucking insane. It's like, yeah,
Thank you,
I
my
actually
brother.
really wanted this, and if a
But-
creator's smart, they will copy that and just put it in their description because someone did the
Yeah.
work for them.
But to pivot back to the topic at hand, Kaiju Animate's really good. I like the setup they're doing here. I like the characters. Dooming foreshadowing into immediate like is a little bit like, yeah, that's a little on the nose, but I get it. Yeah, I hope none of the characters I like die. The end.
Yeah.
It's kind of how this goes. It's like, man, it's a lot like watching early Attack on Titan, where you're just like, man, I hope the characters I like don't die, and there they go. Okay.
Man, I'm a huge fan of this cast and another. It would be a shame if something would have happened to them.
Man, I'm glad this cast is really enjoyable and like cool and like they all are nice people and stuff. And they're dead. Okay,
The
cool.
cute umbrella.
Shut up.
Fuck up, Mason. I haven't seen another, but I know about another.
This Halloween, John.
I'll watch it again.
Oh,
It's not honestly that bad.
No, it's a
in
good.
terms of, like-
It's a good show.
No, I mean like in terms of the like scare and
Oh, that is probably
Or
one of
everything?
the worst scenes in that show. It's
Yeah.
so early in it. There's a couple. that are rough.
Anyways, Kaiju number 8's really good, guys, and I look forward to seeing more next week.
Yeah.
Michael.
Bring him back.
Yo,
This is
these
you, right?
jellyfish that can't swim in the night.
Jellyfish. Hey, did you know this show was gay? Like, I thought
Yeah.
it might be.
Yeah,
But
in case you weren't,
goddamn
like,
this
shirting
show.
it.
We'll get
Damn,
there.
Yoru and Kano are just gay.
Yeah.
We'll get
We'll
there.
get to that. This episode,
Uh-oh.
I believe it's titled
Oh, he's fine.
"Hate Comments" or something like that. Which you see, they go, oh no, only terrible things can come from it. Correct, only terrible things come from it. Everyone in the comments is praising the song, like, oh, this song's great. This is so wonderful. That art's kind of mid though. And Yoru sees that and goes, fuck, I'm bad. And this entire episode centers a lot around Yoru being very self-conscious about her art, which has been a thing with her. From the beginning, she was someone who, like, she's like, I like my art. And then people said, your art sucks. Because her art's very unique, is what the idea is. She draws her own very unique thing. But she has Kano, her girlfriend, to support her through her difficult times. I don't know, they kiss at the end. I don't know, man.
No, she gives her a little peck on the cheek, a little good job, you know. Like it's like when you tap your homies on the butt, you know.
Yeah.
Like I was saying, there
It's
might have
just-
been a misreading of the situation, considering Yoru goes, I appreciate you for supporting me, I also love you.
Yeah. No.
No.
Sakata,
Okay,
Sakata
so-
goes, yeah, kiss.
That's
Yes,
just
we
dudes
have a
being
fun. Yeah.
Just bros being bros. I don't
We
know.
get a fun start to this episode where they release the cursed video, which is that they attach the wrong audio file to the video, which has a recording of Kano's sister in the background at one point, where she just like says some random shit because she was extremely drunk and hungover or slash hungover, whatever it was. It was very funny, and then this causes their video to like explode because funny. It's truly the bit from the one the Chainsaw Man author. I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but
Fujimoto.
yeah, that's just Fujimoto's. Just watch the video, or just listen to the song.
Yeah.
That's what it is. But yeah, so they spend most of this episode making a new song. Also fan art. And this fan art comes from a person we were introduced to by name like a few minutes before. It's like, well, this is a really famous artist.
It's
And they
Shiba
make
Inu.
fan art of the Jelly character, and they go, "Hey, his character looks sick." And then all the comments are just like, then people are like, "Oh my god, this looks so good! OMG!" And then more comments start popping up on their video, going like, "Maybe this artist is just like, kind of bad. Like, it sucks that the art's just like the
Mid.
worst part of this. Maybe this artist is an amateur." And Yoru gets even farther down the pits. But yeah, this episode is, and then they finally make another new song, which with a new video that uses jellyfish in it, which is sick. And yeah, and Kano's like, my brother in Christ, I think your art is amazing. I don't want anyone else to do the art for this. Jelly is only jelly because you are here,
Oh.
and it's sick. It's a good moment. This episode was great. I love these two immensely. These two are wonderful. And Kiwi's also pretty cool. May was there. Kiwi and May don't do much this episode. It's very much more Kano and Yoru focused, which I would argue is a good thing because May's not my favorite.
Wow, cringe. No, I agree though. But yeah, I really like this episode. That's why I have it so high. I thought the character's really great. I thought it was a good story about our main character. That was what we were waiting on. You know, it's kind of her issues. I thought they did a great job with it. I thought they really made her feel more like a character on all this, and like kind of dealt with some of her issues that she's been having. And yeah, it was gay, so it was good.
Sean, do you want to talk? Or
Sure,
do
yeah,
you want me to-
I'll go because then we'll let you close out on some things.
yeah.
There's a scene that I think is funny in this episode. I don't have a problem with it. I just think it's really funny because Kano comes over to Yoru's house and it's like, close your eyes. And she puts on Yoru's school uniform, which I think is the wildest fucking thing to do in someone else's house, but I also think it's really funny. Girls be
See,
girls,
I thought
I
she
guess.
was like putting on her own uniform
No!
that was like the same school uniform. I was
Nope.
like, oh, that's sick. And then she goes, get my fucking uniform off.
It's like, how did you manage to do? How did you set this up without her realizing it beforehand? But
Her eyes were closed.
I thought it was funny. I thought it was an interesting bit. What a small critique I have of this episode is that I think it overuses the first negative comment. Like, there are other negative comments. It takes a while in this episode to get the other ones, and I'm like, I think you make her problem. Like, the whole idea is that in a large sleuth of comments, something you make, you're going to hyperfixate on the thing, on the negative towards you. Even if it is even if it's, 5 out of 1,000, you're gonna see those 5. And they're going to seem much more impactful and be more important to you than the rest of the comments that are probably positive. Especially if you're doing a group thing and the attention's split between people. I just think it would have benefited from showing the other ones, because you hyperfixate on all of them, and it gets there eventually. Yeah, I don't know. There is something about this episode. I personally enjoyed the interactions in Girls Band Cry a little more, between the collective group as a whole, which is why that's above this for me. I also really like the part of the episode where they do the live stream bit. I think it's really interesting.
Oh, it's great.
Because I think it's cool. I think it's weird we don't get to hear everybody talk. Like, it is just kind of Kano doing the large conversation. It's also crazy they post a selfie of everybody, and like the whole thing was
I don't think they post the selfie. I think that's just them.
I thought they did.
They're taking it for their own record.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a New Year's Day. Picture,
Okay,
just
I
for
thought
the
they post. I was like, it would be wild
It's
to
fair.
post
I
that,
was like,
given that.
Why are they just like? Oh no, it's because they're saying Happy New Year.
They just
Like,
doxed their
it's Happy
VTuber
New
friend.
Well, also that, and also the person who is only supposed to be going by Jelly, and actually then post their real face. But also and the implication of the live stream is that it's a voice live stream. They don't actually show the feed, right? Because when we see it, they like use the Jelly art as the as the viewer screen. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know quite what it is. I don't know if it's just that like the conflicts here don't go as deep as I would have liked, or that I feel that like Girls Band Cry does. Where do I have this in? Yeah, so the difficult thing for me here is this and Whisper, and I'll talk about it. Because reasonably, I think this should probably be above Whisper this week. But Serotonin, we'll talk about it. Mason, I want to hear your thoughts.
Okay, so a couple of things here. For one, unfortunately, just due to how the show's worked out, there's going to be comparisons made between this and Girls Band Cry, just based on the fact that they are very similar shows and what they're trying to do. I just like the cast of Girls Band Cry pretty well infinitely more than I like the cast of this. I like all 3 members that we've gotten so far of Girls Band Cry, and I've enjoyed the bits that we've had of the other 2. And for this, I like Kano. I like Kiwi. Yours getting there. May exists. But also, the bit that I had an issue with was I was really into this episode actually starting off. I really was. Because I saw the premise of the episode, I was like, man, this is going to be great. Like, it's going to be kind of a real hard-hitting look at, like, how social media can make you depressed and, like, how you deal with that being on a large scale. And then it was, I'm really sad. Cheer up, I love your art, from Kano. I'm really sad. Cheer up, I love your art. I'm really sad. Cheer up, I love your art. Okay. It felt like it was the same response every time, and it was just 3rd time's the charm to fix it. There was no real, like, change. It was just, no, dummy, listen, I love your art. It's fine. And that didn't fix anything the first 2 times. Why did it fix it the 3rd time? Is my issue.
Fair.
Like, I don't know, it seemed very like, oh, well, this is the issue for this week, and we gotta move on, so we're gonna just quickly resolve it here. when it could have been like I feel like it could have been handled much better in terms of how it was resolved, or it could have just not been resolved. That would have been fine. Like,
it is arguably not resolved yet, but that's the thing we've.
It is resolved for the episode for sure,
Yeah.
but whether
Yeah,
or not
for
they're
now.
going, we'll have to see, or not.
yeah,
For next episode, we're just gonna see more. It's gonna be. It's like now more people are going. Okay, but like this person should do the art, and they go, nah. Gotta get the whole group in here going. Nah,
yeah,
go off.
yeah.
I just was not ready for Yoru to just flat go, I like you, to Kano at the end.
Yeah, it's a wild,
and
it's
for
a
Kano
wild
to just
end of
roll
the
over and kiss
episode.
it. I was like, huh?
Our shows are not beating around the bush this season. They're like, no,
Yeah.
listen, I want your on mine. Problem
Yeah, this
solved.
is. Hey, this is a great segue. This is another show that's definitely not beating around the bush about its character relationships. Mason, let's talk about Go Go Loser Ranger.
Yeah, so Go Loser Ranger this week. D is in Hibiki's body now, living his life. And we get, first of all, we get a resolution of the flashback for Hibiki from last week, which I knew they would do. I'm very glad they did it this way. Basically,
We do.
learn-
We do. You're right. We do.
Because we learned, no, he did not do anything to actually stop the like monster god that was killing everyone. The original Blue Ranger came and took care of it, and then adopted him and his sister.
It's actually
and they
kind
were
of
raised.
based.
Yeah, which is really neat. It's a really good character moment for them. And then we cut to D is in the actual like training facility now, which is apparently underground, and they can't leave until their training is finished, which is interesting. And he keeps hearing this banging coming from the closet, and he thinks it's just the walls are thin. Also, there's a computer in the room that Hibiki tells him, yeah, I wrote all of my relationships down with all of my trainees. Use it. Learn what their names are, and you can act like me. And he immediately breaks it. So he's just kind of flying by the seat of his pants for the rest of this, and we get a very interesting way of him learning everyone's names, which is their like ID cards. Their like trainer tells him, "Hey, go hand these out to everyone."
Thank God he doesn't have a prosopagnosia. That'd be terrible.
Thank God he got bailed as fuck.
God damn it, Sean.
That's the only thing I can think of. He's doing the 999 minigame.
Fair. So we meet all of his fellow trainees. Some of them are nice to him. Some of them are not. We have an older guy. We have a dude who's jacked. They all have really neat designs, and I'm excited to get more of them.
We have the two guys that are clearly like the bros that hate everybody else because they're just assholes for the sake of being
and
assholes.
they're one henchman
Yeah.
who does not look like he fits the rest. But because there's three of them in that group.
Was
Yeah.
it three?
Yeah, because
Well,
there's
so
there's the silver-haired guy, and then there's the two goons who show up afterwards, and one
yeah.
feels much more goonish than the other.
Yeah. After this, D goes back to the room and finds out that the banging that was happening. Oh, before he gets back to his room, he runs into Hibiki's sister, who's in a wheelchair. And he runs away, gets into his room, finds out that Hibiki's been hiding another monster here this entire time.
This checks out.
Yeah.
The most
this-
on-brand thing in this show.
And she's definitely not into Hibiki, we promise.
No.
Um,
No sexual tension there at all.
No, definitely not. And she is of the opinion that she was the only one left because she's been trapped here for the entire time, basically. So she's just been in this facility for 13 years with no one knowing, apparently.
I mean, you guys don't
I
keep
know.
girls in your closets?
Maybe
Like,
not in the facility
No.
itself, because I
No.
think the implication
Oh.
is that Hibiki stumbles upon her,
Yeah,
and then moves her to the closet. But
probably.
In the closet.
Also, there's a small distinction that we learn, which is it's not that she thinks she's the only one left. It's that she thinks she's the only non-henchman monster left. Is the kind of the implicate. Like, she seems to be a little bit higher than the rest of them.
Yeah.
Like, she does still have the mask design.
She has a name and not a number.
Yeah.
Or a letter, rather.
Yeah. So we get a bit of her. She just wants to kill all the humans. She's super battle hungry. And Dee ends up like having to finagle hiding her as Hibiki's sister comes in and talks with him, and almost kills him by cutting an apple the weirdest way possible.
Look, she has some problems.
Yeah, she has some issues. We have an interesting scene with them after some shenaniganry where he has to, as she leaves the room, cut the head off the other monster to keep her from not killing Hibiki's sister.
Which she totally could do.
Yeah. Hibiki's sister comes back and they have a nice, interesting conversation where he basically is telling her, like, she tells him, you should leave the Rangers because you're too much of a pacifist and this is just going to go badly. And he goes, no, I came here to fight. I came here to deal with this. And she goes, okay, it's a bad idea, but I guess I can't stop you. We then find out, yeah, no, that's just the Pink Ranger. And she goes and kicks the shit out of some guys who are harassing a woman, and then gets a little excited over.
She enters a zone.
She enters the cum zone. Yes.
Because her brother's.
Somebody who never use that terminology again.
Oh, John, I have lots of things I gotta introduce you to in relation to why that term comes up, but it's okay, not right now.
No, I'm good. I'll pass.
There's.
So many things.
Look, there may not be a couple of Danganronpa scenes that certainly enter the zone. It's a different kind of zone than most anime fans are known for.
So, I had this at number 1. I thought this episode was rad as hell. I really liked it. I enjoyed that this show is just throwing stuff at us that's making things more, like, twisted, keeps getting it more, like, tangled up. I'm enjoying it quite a lot, but I'm interested to hear your guys' thoughts on it.
I mean, I think
this episode was solid. I don't know. This wasn't my favorite episode of the show, but it just because, like, I don't know. I don't know exactly how to explain what was happening with this episode. Just kind of, it was fine. It was pretty. It was cool.
I thought it was a fine episode too. I'm just not as invested in like Fighter D so much as I was like the characters around him. Honestly, like I just don't have faith in our boy to do anything. I guess is my problem. Except for like Looney Tunes his way through like somehow finding these weapons that like I guess we're kind of leaving out in the open. Obviously, like, Blue is probably gonna be more specific. Just
I think
like stuff locked away. But
what if her divine artifact's the wheelchair?
I think that's actually the case.
The divine artifact is her chastity belt.
No, but don't we know the blue divine artifact is the scythe?
No,
Because that was a replica. No,
His
that
is
was
the
a
spear.
replica of the
Blue's
divine
is
artifact.
the spear,
Ah.
right? Because he uses
No,
the...
he had a chunk of the divine artifact that powered his scythe.
No, but I mean, like,
but
when
they
he
would.
blows away Fighter D in episode 3, it's a spear,
Mm.
right? It's a
Yeah,
lance.
it's a spear.
See, I interpreted replica as a replica of the thing.
No, it's not. It wasn't a
Of the-
scythe.
Of the
Of
power.
the actual thing.
No, its
Mhm.
power's replicated. But
I
yeah,
do.
like I said-
Oh, go ahead.
go ahead.
You're good.
I was just gonna say I'm not as invested in Fighter D as much as I am like I like the other characters and what they're doing. And I want to see more of them. Obviously, we saw like an interaction between Pink and our main bad girl, who also is plotting the downfall here with the weapons. But it'll be interesting to see what. I'm really curious what the hell our other guy's gonna do now that he's like got one hand and is
Yeah.
not a part of the story anymore in the middle of a forest.
But also, he's gonna change the Ranger Force from the inside still. I don't know what his plan is, but
Yeah.
but he has one.
I
But
have
he
a
has
thought.
plan,
I have a thought,
right?
which is his plan is to come back after like D clears through the thing that actually lets them get out from underground. And the idea is that like D's gonna set it up that he loses an arm, so that it works. But that seems a little convoluted and unnecessary, especially when the two of them don't seem to have contact with each other. But whatever. That's where I think that. I think there will be a loop around for it. I have some. I have two major I guess three. I'm gonna levy three kind of things, which is why this show dropped out of top 3 for me, and why I contemplated dropping it lower. I just generally still really like the show, which is why it stayed towards the top. Firstly, sister complex. Well, brother complex from the sister. Maybe goes a little wild into that one. Especially since prior, there does not seem to be any implication that seems to be like their life got fucked up and she went hyperfixate on my brother. I now love him. Too far in a direction. I'm like, that's a choice to make. Secondly, perhaps a little too many wacky hijinks in this episode for the tone and setting we're in. And this is going to build into the third point, which is, I don't think you needed to break this laptop. I actually think this hurts it by having to have him stumble through interactions that should honestly immediately rat him out that he's not the real Hibiki. Especially since he doesn't, like, he takes a while to, like, warm into Hibiki's personality, which he knows very well at this point. But even then, he tries to answer things in the way Hibiki would, and they don't necessarily work. Like, some of the things don't match up yet. And I don't know. I almost feel like having Hibiki's notes can still lead to some awkward, fun interactions, and also just introduce the cast. Like, you gave us a plot point that would have introduced the supporting cast here, and the structure of the entire thing, anyway, through Hibiki's eyes, and then Fighter D would have to adjust to, like, there's a point in the episode where Fighter D's like, I'm starting to understand Hibiki better. You get that if you have Hibiki's notes, and then you meet all these people, and you go, those don't sound right exactly, or, like, you then get to understand, like, where the level of Hibiki's actual connection to these people, like, changes. And I don't know, I just, like, you introduce a plot point that would be like, this would let you explain all these new people. You then get rid of it so that you don't get the immediate information because it leads to more wacky hijinks between the cast. And then introduce another plot point to allow for Fighter D to meet everybody anyway. It's like, to me, like, the structure of this feels like they had something good anyway, and they just kind of were like, but it would be funnier if. And I find it very hard to be sold that, like, that the Pink Ranger wouldn't have some suspicions with how this entire set of events, like, that's my problem with a lot of the scenes in the room, is that it's so wacky and it's so much happening that it's like, I don't think you get to sell this, like, and get away with it without suspicion, and yet you've, like, or at least without, like, her being a little, like, there's not even a bit where she's like, he was acting weird, but after what he said to me in stabbing the apple, that was definitely him. Like, I was worried that something might have happened when he encountered that monster. Like, there's none of that. It's just, she just full-heartedly believes it's Hibiki. And I don't know, like, those are where the drawbacks come. I still really like this show, and I'm really interested to meet the newer cast, because I like this show's supporting cast a lot. And with this huge batch of new characters, especially ones that he can potentially impersonate along the way, like, I think this is setting up for a really cool concept that I'm excited to see. It's just, there were definitely things that held this week's episode back for me.
I mean, I'm not a big fan of Liz Ranger, but I do respect that it is a fun and good show. And I kind of went to Sean this one. I think this was, like, one of its weaker episodes for overall, but it's still been a good show so far. Hence why it's in the middle for, like, everybody else. So I could feel like my blood sugar was like dropping, so I needed something to eat. Basically,
Good.
I got
That's
a
fair.
bagel, and now I feel infinitely better.
Yo, John. It's time.
Just in time to recharge my gay. Okay. So, what's me a love song this week? We have the end of our discussion between our main girl, I just pulled up the list of names, Himari, and then the sister, Aki, where they have this spat. She goes, "Listen, that's what it is. I wanted to root for you, I really did, but like I feel like you're just playing with my love interest and friends like heart, and that's not cool." Which honestly, fair enough, kind of is what's going on. And so after that, we have Himari back in her club where Momoka is like, "You're having love troubles," and she's like, "How do you know?" And she's like, "Because I'm a main character or a side character." And so they decide, "Hey, let's make some more cookies, and we can make some kinds that like she'll like." And so Himari and them are walking home, and she's like, "Hey, what kind of cookies would you think I should make next?" She's like, "If you could make ones that are like cats, I don't care how you do it, just do it." In which Momoko comes up from behind, Yori gets super jealous and like grabs Himari to prevent her from like running to Momoko to see what's up, and goes, "Oh, my bad." Where Momoko goes, "Oh, you forgot your phone. Oh, this is the one we talked about. This one right here, right? Yep, completely unrelated. She's not going to comment on this because she's too distracted being jealous. Yep, cool."
She comments on it afterwards. I wiggle. Oh, this is the gay.
Oh, this is the aforementioned individual of interest. To which Yori finally goes home and writes her love song, brings it to the club and goes, "Guys, I got it. Here's what it sounds like. Here's what I wrote." They're like, "You actually wrote this? God, you're way cuter than we thought you were." Basically.
Man,
probably
you're
some
shit I've ever
you're
seen.
down bad.
Man,
for this
you're a
girl.
simp.
God,
To which, after practicing a session,
damn.
Aki looks at the phone and goes, "Hey, your girlfriend's calling." And so they get a text and they're like, "Just invite her to the clubhouse. Have her bring the cookies here." In which we get a cute scene where she gives her the cookies, and Aki just kind of goes, "See, Yori, you're worrying over nothing. Let's take a breath. You got this." Also, we have Yori giving her a deadline here. She's like, "Hey, we're gonna set a deadline. It's gonna be this concert. You either love me or you don't. That way, you don't gotta worry about making me wait too long, and I don't gotta worry about waiting too long and like not get my feelings out. And then we're done. Then that's that." So, again, show setting its agenda. It's very gay. I thought it was cute. A little bit less down on the cute this episode than in previous ones. Didn't make me feel all doki doki inside as much as it usually does, but it's still good. The characters are good. I enjoyed them interacting with each other.
Yo,
That's kinda it for me.
wild stinger at the end of this episode last week with the other band is there, and they have the tickets for the spring concert,
right.
and the leaders and the one is just like, "Yeah, I don't expect much. These people aren't musicians." I
Amateurs.
just fucking I'm really interested in what this show's gonna do with that plot point.
Right.
That's an interesting stance to.
I actually kind of like the rival band front,
I think it is. I think it is.
but I need more from it.
Yeah, it's odd because it gives an implication that this show's going to swing hard into the music and like the second half, but has also given us no reason to trust that that'll be a good thing. So we'll see.
See, the issue I have with the rival band thing is, in my opinion, this show is fine with the amount of plot threads it has right now. Why are we adding another? Like,
I think they
mean,
just float
have the-
outside well enough. Like I think they really are like we're setting this up for the end of the season thing, and we just don't want it to come out of nowhere.
fair.
Maybe we really have no idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess being the most negative on this show this week, I guess I can start off or whatever. So I think the stuff with Aki's handled pretty well. I like the idea that it just instead of it like really being like a major thing that she starts going for, it's that it just puts the doubt in Himari's head. I think that was handled really well.
She's trying to force the issue, which makes
Boy, am I just tired of Himari just sitting here going, I don't know if I like her, as it's the only person she ever wants to be around, and she joined a club to fucking make food for her. I don't know.
What I appreciate though is
That's
that Momoka spells it out for her in that regard. She's like, "Look, I don't know how other people consider love, like, cause Himari's like, I don't want to like kiss her and hug her necessarily. And Momoko's like,
she could just be
okay,
asexual.
yeah.
That's fine.
Momoko's like, that's okay. That doesn't have to define love. The people I love, I bake sweets for. And Himari has like a mini brain blast, but she goes, wait, who do I make sweets for? Oh fuck, wait.
Wait, I'm a fucking idiot.
It just feels like we're waiting too long for Himari to connect these dots. I understand the whole like idea set up in episode 3 is that she needs to connect these dots because she's so full of love she doesn't know what like love is.
She's a dense
Also,
little love
just,
god.
I want to know. I love him.
She's just asexual. That's the problem.
Yeah.
She doesn't have those kind of
I
feelings.
don't think it's asexual. It's just she just hasn't been able to explore romantic feelings before, right?
It could
as
be
well.
both.
Maybe.
It can
It
be
can be
neither.
They don't. Could be both. They don't.
I
Have
don't-
to be. They don't have to be separate.
I don't think
But
this
Tired
shows.
of Himari waiting, and the issues that setting up this rival event feels like we're gonna have to wait even longer.
I don't think so because I don't think they're going to become an issue until after the concert because like what
or
are
they're
they?
gonna be part of the concert. I thought that was like.
Yeah, but we're gonna get.
Or what if they're so good that she falls in love with the other rival guitarist? That would be
like, at the end of
based.
this episode, we do have Himari getting jealous for a second. I
Yes.
think that was great.
Well, there's a couple of points that like when I first watched this episode, I was kind of down on it because I was like, I don't know if like I don't know if enough came out of the tension I wanted from last week's episode into this week. Like it felt very like a kind of slowed down pace to what I was expecting. But like when I was looking for my screen grab, I was retreading some of the stuff that I watched previously. I'm like, no, I really liked this episode from a lot of the things it does, and like because you have the scene after the conversation where Himari goes home, and she thinks about it and she's like, okay, I tell Yori, no, I don't like you. Then what happens? Then Aki gets with her and we drift apart. I don't like that feeling. That doesn't. I love that shot. Where it's the screenshot I have where it's the two of them walking away, and they come into color together. That's such a cool shot. And in the same way, I appreciate that you get the bit at the end of the episode where it's like, hello, you're in the room with us now. I don't like how close you are to the person I am debating whether I love or not. I'm now feeling similar feelings that we've established from the other end that are clearly jealousy and hard tied to love. Like it is a slow build for Himari. I absolutely get that, but I think the show's doing it in a really good way. Where like, in my opinion,
It doesn't feel forced, is what I like about it.
yeah.
It's not
like,
trying to jump the gun on itself.
most
too.
of the emotions feel very natural for these characters, I think. And I don't know. I think the show's setting it up pretty clear that like the focus right now still is the spring concert, this band's like the main band's performance, and the confession. That is the focus. In the peripheral, you have this other group that is expecting the main band to just not be good. And, like, I don't think they're going to interject and be like, wow, your music sucks, and that's going to, like, cut the confession or the decision on whether Himari gets with her or not off. Like, I don't think that's going to suddenly interject and derail us. Like, it just doesn't feel like it's building that way.
Your mid would be so fucking funny, though.
Also, I feel like Yori isn't used enough this episode. Like, from what I remember, Yori literally does, like, 3 things. She is jealous, makes a song, and is jealous again.
I mean, I like...
I mean, she lays down the heavy riz at one point, but, like,
Yes.
she does that every time she interacts with Himari. And I love those scenes. Those are wonderful.
I mean, I appreciate that in the interaction we get, she just comes out and says it, and is like, I don't like how close you are. Like, the fact that I don't get to see you as much anymore, and that I know you're spending time with another older girl who you bake sweets with, like, it makes me jealous, and that's not... And Himari's like, no, wait, that's actually fair. Meanwhile, Yori's like, it makes me feel like dog shit. And, like, she's pretty clear about that.
Could be in love. Could
But,
want
like,
to kill myself. Can't decide.
I think it makes sense that Yori's not as big of a focus in this episode because the focus is on Himari navigating after what Aki's told her. I also like that Aki is like, I went a little too far on the younger girl. Maybe perhaps I pushed her in the moment.
I love that Aki's a human being who's like,
Yeah.
you know what? That was kind of mean, actually. Like, that was maybe a little bit too far. Maybe I should try to, like, play a little more fair, I guess is what she kind of says.
I think these characters feel very human, and I really, really like that about them.
Yeah.
They feel like actual people and not just, like, characters in a story where it's like, oh, yes, we are just the side characters to your story. It's like, no, we are individuals, too, and, like, I care about this person, too, so I don't want to see them hurt and, like, sad and stressed deliberating about this issue that, like, you are causing, basically.
Yeah, at least for those three, that they feel like really well. The other two band members certainly are just
Gay.
the one who's gay for the short one and the short one.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I as much as that is them, I do like the bits they run this episode.
I don't dislike
That's the
that.
issue where she's like, wow, you're really
Not
short. And she's
whole-
like,
they're not a
you're
whole lot
one
more
to
than
talk.
One of them's literally her only character trait so far is I like short people.
Yeah.
Also, she's
Honestly,
filthy.
kind of based.
She's
on-
also
being
filthy.
short.
She's also filthy rich.
Yeah.
And the world's biggest. I adore that Himari walks in. She goes, "You're cute and adorable and short." And the other short band member goes, "Excuse me," where she's
That is my character trait.
where she is in denial. She constantly is doing the denial of, "No, I don't love you. Go away." But she's also like, "No. I'm your short person. Also, you shut up. I'm not that short. We're the same height, even though she's like 2 years older." Also cool to bring up the, like, it didn't get brought up last week's episode by Aki. Aki makes a really valid point at the start of the episode when she kind of expands a little more on why she's doing it, where she's like, Yori's a third year. She's gonna be done after this school year. And then what happens with your relationship? Especially if you don't, like, act soon. Like, an actual thing to consider and think about in relationship dynamic that starts in school. That I think was really... I don't know. I really like this show. I enjoy it a lot. It is my serotonin show of the season. And it does a lot of things that surprise me in terms of, like, emotional beats and, like, character thought into these relationships.
So
Big agree.
I realized something this week with this show, and it's that I have such an odd relationship with this show where it's 1 week I really like this show. The next week it's like second from the bottom. And it just keeps kind of bouncing back and forth. I don't quite know how to feel about it yet. I'm still in on it this week. I really like this episode. But
Even I dropped it a little bit this week because I think the other shows are just so different too in that. Like, whereas this one's like unapologetically gay, right? You have one that's like, okay, this one's pretty gay. You have one that's like, well, we are gay, but like it's not the main focus.
We're just starting the gay.
Well,
3
and so it's like-
stages of gay.
It's very very like this is a show that's about romance with music. There's one that's this is about music with, you know, just good characters, and then there's like one that's like this is about music and romance is kind of the thing, right? We have like all three areas of that spectrum, and I think that like the quality of the other episodes every week is going to affect how you view the other shows, right? And like how we each like the shows individually, you know.
I think this
I
is by
think
far.
that is what might be like skewing it for a lot of us, is because like we all have our different preferences for which of the three we like the most, right? Except no one really likes Jellyfish as much.
Michael does. Michael just also really likes Girls Burn Cry.
I just really,
Yeah,
really
And
like
you
it.
Girls
also
Burn Cry
like
just kinda
Jellyfish.
cheated
You
its
have
way
it in
into
your
sitting
top
there.
3 this week.
I do too, but like individual episodes wise, I like
Yeah.
it. But in terms of overall shows, you know, but like it's just interesting to see it. Like we all have like different preferences on which ones we like the most. I guess the thing for this, but
I mean, realistically, like, for me, I think why I wind up liking this, like, this week's episode of Girls Burn Cry, I adored. But, like, overall, like, I don't know if I would put Girls Band Cry over this because I'm much more in this kind of show for the romance, and that's why I really like the romance in the character, and that's
Same.
why I really like Whisper Me a Love Song, and that's not what Girls Band Cry is. It's a music show about a group of girls who have struggles, and I enjoyed that part of it. Jellyfish is, like, trying to blur those lines, only recently. Like, it was, like, they're, in my opinion, until, like, Jellyfish did its weird thing at the end of this episode that I don't even want to, like, take too hard into consideration because it was such an end of the episode thing that I don't know what they're gonna do with it, if anything at all. Like, Jellyfish is much more comparable to Girls Band Cry, and this is kind of like this is a show that, like, it's got music in it. It might be important enough that it's going to get compared to the other two shows that also have music in it, but even those shows do their music differently. Like, they are all kind of different facets of a similar chunk of, like, content. And I agree with you in that, like, it's definitely what of these do you prefer?
Which flavor
and
of game do you prefer?
I absolutely understand not adoring this show. Because we talked about it last week. This is one of those shows where it's like some of us are going to be hard tuned in on it, and some of us aren't. Because that's just what happens. This is by far, like, a more traditional, like, slice of life romance in a way. Like, this is the school life slice of life romance. Where, like, you slot this in, and, like, you're either completely tuned out or not. Or you're starting to maybe go one way or the other.
Let's fucking go versus let's fucking no tier.
I want you to know, by the way, I named the screenshots for this show Whisper Me a Gay. Why didn't I just name it Whisper Me a Gay Song? That's much better.
That's so much funnier.
I know. I'm like, wow.
Sean, you had
I'm gonna change it. Don't worry. It's going to Whisper Me a Gay. I don't know why I just decided to drop the song part of it. But yeah, we're gonna adjust that. But with that, let's talk about Yatagarasu, a show that is not remotely like anything else on this podcast.
God, no. So, Yatagarasu this week, we start off with gambling. Prince is gambling in the ravine. And he keeps losing. And eventually, he loses everything. They're like, alright, man, you gotta pay us, and you don't have anything left. You've given us your robes, your katana, you've given us everything. He goes, I have a strapping young lad. Take him as collateral. He then proceeds to leave Yukiya in the ravine
For a month.
For a month and a half.
Wild, given that we have a time frame for this show.
Yeah. We just have a full-on month and a half time skip. Because the prince finally comes to get him after Yukiya has basically earned the trust of every single person in the red light district, essentially. Where he's just like, all the dudes are just like, yeah, no, that kid can work. Like, we want to keep him. And all the girls
are like, look at that kid over there.
Yeah. All the girls are like, man, this is
Kind of cute though.
Good job. Like, it's a good point. And the prince comes and picks him up, takes him up to the nicer red light district.
Let's not forget that he tries to fucking punch the prince.
Yeah, he tries to punch the prince and it doesn't go well.
It's a fucking wonderful scene. He's like, Prince, oh my god, it's you! And it turns to a punch
Young
and
master!
It's such a good scene.
We then get him taking him up to the red light district to talk about stuff and like celebrate him coming back. Where Yukiya tells him, yeah, no, actually, at one point I saw something weird while I was working there. It turns out Natsuka's whole crew was there at one point, and they fucking killed a guy. I watched it through a peephole, and I saw that man die right in my eyes, like a foot away from me. Yeah, so we've kind of find out that Natsuka doesn't really do anything in his group. They just kind of do what they think he would enjoy, and go off of that. So his crew is not put together at all. We also find out the reason during this bit that the attack and assassination attempt on the prince was done by the same noble that Yukiya's embarrassed his son with in the first or second episode, I believe.
Yeah.
Which is an interesting tie-in. He's dead.
Oh, he's
very dead. We also get a bit at the Cherry Blossom Palace where they're talking about Tanabata, which is some holiday where they all sew kimonos for the prince to try and get him to like them more. But like none of them actually do the sewing. They just do the last stitch so they can say they did the work.
Except for the one.
Group projects fucking suck.
Except for one based one that does.
Yeah, except for the one base princess who does the entire sewing. also, our shy, I think it's the Southern Princess.
I think she's like an Easter. I think she's East or West by her
it's
color
East.
scheme.
Yeah, it is
Because it's
Eastern.
pink.
It is Eastern. Correct. That's correct. So the Eastern Princess has a meeting with one of the ladies in waiting for the princess that she knows from childhood, and they give her a koto that has a name, and the older like handmaiden for her knows this koto. So I'm sure we'll get more on that later.
I mean, it seems to be implied that it's from the prince.
Yeah.
Especially because we learned that her first love was the prince who she saw, who had the purple robes on, which has to be nobility.
Yes. Yeah. So most likely it was very clear from the beginning that this was our like actual end love interest, but like.
Well, yeah, she's the
kind of
least
full count.
she's the least typical of all the consorts, so she's the most fitted to go with the least typical prince.
She's not like other girls.
She's at least out for her own interests.
Well, she might be like other girls, just not other noble girls.
Yeah.
Makes me hate that you said that.
Gotcha.
No, fuck you.
God, dude, this show gets incredibly pretty and incredibly serious on the drop of a dime.
Yeah. I understand that this show is not for everyone, because like not everyone can sit through the weird political shenaniganry that is happening in this show. But I really enjoy it. I think it's really neat. Also, it's really fucking pretty at points.
I will give you that. It's a very pretty show.
I thought it was.
Oh, when she's playing the koto. Oh my god. What a scene.
That is such a good scene.
I also just like having her have a thing she's good at. It's finally good to
She
have
does
her
have a unique
have
skill,
the
and
thing.
she is actually
yeah,
useful.
She has a unique thing about her that isn't her being the shy one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
or the poor one.
Yeah.
Like it
Or the
is-
shy poor one.
Shit on
Or the
constantly.
stupid
who
one.
who doesn't understand anything. It's like no, she has a thing
Yeah.
that she's really good at that's actually pretty impressive and like probably makes her worth considering.
Yeah.
I
I'm
also
interested why the one person saw the koto and was like, why that one? Question mark.
I think it is like a royal family thing.
Mm.
Yeah.
Because it seems Cherry Blossom tied to some degree. I don't remember I don't think the name was Cherry Blossom, but it was something.
It was Cloud something.
Yeah.
Whatever.
I wanted to say it was called Cloud Gouger, but that's fucking
I wanna
Kagurabachi
say
in
it
my
was
brain.
called Cloud
That's
Stripe,
Cinder
but that's
Box.
already there.
Cloud Gap. That'd be great.
But no, I mean, I think all the political intrigue stuff in the start of the episode it's cool. I think it's a really neat way to frame this information, and to move the story along in a way where like we don't need to be in the story for an actual year. So like move some time along, learn some things about how things are moving in the plot. I really think it's interesting to have the setup of like his brother doesn't ever give people orders. That would be dumb. Instead, he just lets them do what they want, and he'll punish the people when it works for him, and he won't punish them when it also works for him. That way he can play whatever game he wants, and you don't know exactly where he lies. Other Stinger, his aide's coming to talk to them, which I
Yeah.
imagine is to
Aid for the
request.
dead guy.
Which I
to
imagine
clarify.
is to request that that he fucking goes and attends the palace, where he's like, please God, just go to the fucking palace for once in your life. Just
Yeah.
do this for us. Really, really cool scene with this aide too, where Natsuka is like, you see my right hand man, my bodyguard right here. You see how he killed a man to make a point that he's willing to do that? Yeah, sometimes that's necessary. But I also really like how there's a point in that conversation where where he learns like, oh, this guy's been stealing money and not paying it back and was basically trying to get one over on the prince. And the aide's like, dude, I can't even help you anymore. You really
Yeah.
fucked this up, dude.
Like, come on, man. I did my best, but like you had to put in any kind of work, and you just did.
And then just to add to the prince's dynamic with her boy, I appreciate that he also stops to have the conversation where like, by the way, do not feel like this man's death is on your hands because you took his son's spot as my aide. This was going to happen no matter what. People
Yeah.
like him tried to kill me. If you feel, for what all reason, any kind of regret about this, you had nothing to do with this. Do not. Because it's nice to show that he's still paying attention and is Like, he doesn't just forget about the details about his new aid. Like, he cares about this kid's life. He understands the way that, like, this game might legitimately fuck him up by watching people he knows die. And I think that that's a really neat scene to have. I like this show a lot. It's just not... Other shows were also just really good. So, like, it fell a little lower than I would have liked it to. But...
Yeah, no. The funny thing is, so the scene where he's like watching through the crack, because I'm really bad at remembering character names, especially in something like this. Like, there's certain character names I remember, like the entire cast. That means the 3 we have in Girls Band Cry. Fun fact, I could not tell you what the other 2's names are, and I've seen their names like 7 times each at least. In their
Should look at
character
the name
preview
tags.
things. But we're doing the they're doing the thing with he's looking through the crack, and I'm like, okay, so like I know like, they show the flashback, so we know the guy who was doing money laundering shit or whatever, who's stealing money, and I go, they keep saying someone's name, and I had no fucking clue who that name was until the prince's brother shows up. I go, oh, it's him. Okay,
Yeah.
Thank you for answering my question, because I had no idea who they were talking.
Yeah,
about.
Natsuka's name is, like, the only one I remember from this show. For some reason, out of the main group. Like, yeah.
See, I remember
Yukiya.
Takuya or whatever. Or
Yukiya.
Yeah, I didn't even remember his name. But
But
I know it was a yeah in it.
I don't know, his brother's name just, like, really fits the character in my brain, so, like, it sticks.
Yeah.
That's fair.
He also has a
I think
very,
at this point I'm gonna remember it, maybe.
I think for him as well, like,
It's a
he just has
normal
a
name.
very, like, striking design to him.
Yes.
I instantly remember him.
He's a sick character.
As does
He's
his
very cool.
bodyguard. You see his bodyguard, you're like, oh, it's fucking him again. It's fucking
Oh my
Ryder
God,
from
it's-
Fate
it's
Zero.
It's Iskandar, King of Conquer.
Yep.
It's him.
He's just Alexander.
Dude, he's so that's the screenshot I have where it's the bloodstain. It's so fucking cool.
It's
such-
fucking raw
And
ass.
it's such a
shot.
surreal art style they use for, like, it's slightly more honed in than the rest of the show.
I mean, he very much looks like he is pulled from a completely different show. and It works.
Yeah, he's a Kingdom character. Straight out Dynasty Warriors.
True.
True. Sengoku Basara.
Okay. Let's talk about Bartender.
So this week in Bartender, we go on a little trip on a magic rocket ship. But in reality, they go to a Kyoto, I believe it is, where they end up, right?
I believe
For
it's Kyoto.
for a specific distillery that they want to go explore.
It's Yamazaki.
And so we have our cast that comes along, which is our main girl Miwa. We have the bad bartender Kyoko. We have the better bartender Yuri, who made the martinis last episode. And then we have a new character whose name is Kelvin, or Chen.
He goes by
Who is-
Chen.
who is
Most
buddies with
episodes.
Ryu. And he's this very soft-spoken guy who is the apprentice of Mr. Perfect. And so they all go to the distillery together and they learn a lot of cool stuff. And he's this very stoic, boring-ass fucking character who they go through this whole tour and they're like, just make one highball with this, what we usually do. But you guys can make something. And so what does he make? He makes a highball. To which he's like, well, that's it. And then the tour guide just goes, cool. Anyways, you guys want to try some of the stuff that we just made today so you can kind of taste how it's different?
And he goes, no, fuck that.
And then,
I mean, he's on a base that shit tasted like ass, apparently.
but our boy, he basically is, Ryu kind of convinced him to take it, and which he does. He's like, this tastes kind of mid. Should have let it age anyways. And then the next day they go visit a shrine with Miwa and Ryu, in which he sees the little good luck charms that Ryu gives him, and he goes, is that kind of like this thing that looks like it's from a festival, that clearly is from a festival from when I was a kid and in this town, and my dad's an asshole, and I met this girl that I fell in love with, but like pussied out of going to the festival with? Oh yeah, it's kind of like that. And we don't have any closure on that. He just kind of goes, yeah, I think I'm a better person now. In which,
No, to be fair,
Well-
he doesn't say that.
but
Have you-
basically, like, he goes
And-
to the bar,
Yeah.
and then our boy serves him a drink, which is just like the more like raw version of like the
In the tiniest
liquor.
glass
and
known to
there's this
man.
little
Yeah.
water. One drop of water just made
That-
this
It is like...
him sent him on this entire journey
it's
to the
fucking-
past.
Is that a normal sized glass for that drink, Mason?
So it's
That's a
It is-
tiny ass glass.
It's not actually. So glasses like that are tasting glasses. They're
Yeah,
so they come in a variety of different shapes, but usually they're about 4 ounces. And at the bars I've worked at, they're called Scotch
It
glasses.
just seems so small.
It's entirely there for a taster.
I know what those look like, and my brain's just like, that just feels so small in the scene. It looks so fucking tiny in his hands.
No, and that's fair. It,
To be fair,
I was
it
really-
is or sorry.
oh, you're good. But
I was gonna say it's our bartender who makes the glass of God, who is like, it is important to hold on to your struggles and like to remember and to feel and like to actually care about things that you might have done to somebody, because if you do, that makes you a better person when you're old. Like, he himself does not go, I am a better person. Cheer.
No,
like,
but like
yeah, I just want to I want to be fair
he
to the
achieves
show.
a sense of enlightenment in which he goes, maybe I can change, and maybe I can be a little bit more sentimental with how I make my drinks, and be a little more
Yeah.
like conscientious of the customer, not just making the perfect drink.
so I don't know if you guys had the same feeling that's on this that I did. I really enjoyed. I wasn't a big fan of the first half of this episode because, as John said, boring ass stoic character for the
Chen's
first bit
kind
that we
of
had him.
Existing.
What do you think about this, Chen? Yay.
And then, like, once we got his flashback, I was like, okay, this is interesting. And I really was, like, enjoying the little romance that we got with them. And then I felt like I got blue-balled when it was, like, because I was expecting, like, a setup of, like, oh, she comes back or
He
something.
goes
and
to the
they reconnect.
festival this year, and then he finds her there, and she's
No.
waiting for him all these years, and
It just stops. And it's just like, yeah, this happened. Anyways, we're here now. And it's just like,
I think that's
Okay.
crazy because I like that nothing happens.
Yeah,
I think it would be
it's-
insane if she
was
shows
there,
up.
It makes more
a
sense.
weird
It
thing.
would have been so cute.
It's so weird to me because on the one hand, I'm like, no, it makes sense that she wouldn't because that's fucking.
But this is
insane.
bartender, where they've always just immediately had like the perfect thing happen,
That's
which is why I
the thing.
liked this section, because they finally subverted me on something in this fucking show.
So
Fair.
here's the problem though, and this is my biggest critique about this. I don't give 2 fucks about this. The guy shows up
I
this
do.
episode and you want me to know his entire life story? Like, look,
We can't
I-
just make alcohol every episode.
they still do. Like,
They
not,
can't.
like, don't get me wrong. Like, I think this backstory is neat and it does a lot for this character. This character quite literally conjures out of the abyss for this episode. Like,
Yeah.
I almost felt like I felt like I missed an episode. This
that was
this
kind-
is such an odd episode in this spot that, like, while it's good, like, I don't know, I don't want to give it anything because I'm like, it's so oddly placed. I don't care about this character. Like, nothing that, for as far as I know, nothing that happened in this episode is going to be relevant ever again for the rest of this show.
So,
I mean,
oh,
that's how the show's been though, because every episode we just get a new character introduced. We had the perfect drink guy introduced in an episode. We had bad bartender introduced in an episode, and then she was gone for like a full episode, and then she came back. I don't
But
know.
I usually
I
feel
thought
like
the entire flashback was fucking amazing. It's one of my favorite things we saw this week.
I
It was
agree.
perfect. I think those two were wonderful together.
I
That's such an
usually
interesting
I
thing, you guys
expect
have
him to
switched
come back once he's
drastically.
in the opening.
well,
I'll be
yeah, he's
honest, I
gonna
thought
be
it was all
around. They're
kinda
gonna
mid, I'm gonna be honest.
they're gonna do this competition with everybody, and they're all gonna be like. The point of every episode is to build somewhat to this bartender eventually getting to bartend for the hotel. Like, that, I imagine, is the end goal, and understanding why he does things. So, like, the interaction, in my opinion, the interaction with the bartender who sucks at her job is meant to show, like, what he's gone through prior when he was in her shoes, and how much he cares about the craft now. Whereas the point of having the Mr. Perfect guy is to directly contrast their style of bartending, to, like, highlight why in particular they want him to do it and not this guy who's arguably one of the best bartenders around anyway, outside the fact that he's already, you know, spoken for by another bar. Like, they want him because of his skill with the customers. So, like, I think like, this is by far the episode where I'm like, it's not really about or bartender. It's about this new character who gets introduced, and that's neat. And this backstory is really good, and I really like every part of it. It
But
doesn't, in my opinion, it doesn't move this show anywhere though. Like
that's kinda, yeah.
the show is still bartender. I still think out of everything we have, this is the like. I don't think this show's bad. I just think this is still the bottom show. Like I don't think it. I don't think from here it goes anywhere and wows me again.
This episode gave me the same feeling that some of the later episodes of what the fuck was it called last season of the Mason show. I know he had he had 2 shows that ended up in top.
There was Metallic Rouge. There was.
It wasn't Metallic Rouge.
There was Metallic Rouge. There was
Mr. Villain. It's the later episodes of Mr. Villain, where they introduced a character and made me care about them immensely within an episode, and it takes a lot of finesse and storytelling. Like I cared more about this romance than I cared about the romance happening in Whisper Me a Love Song this week. I think these 2 were better portrayed than those 2 were, because I just love the way these 2 work.
I think that's something that can easily happen from having such a small vignette from it. Like
They tell an entire love story in 35
this is
seconds. Yes.
This is incredibly well structured and well thought out for this character's backstory. Like I will give you that. I think it's really neat. I don't know. I don't want to get into that particular point because I think there's a lot of intricacies that have that causes a difference of opinion of that for me at least. I think comparing this to Mr. Villains is giving it way too much credit. Because in the end, I feel like this is pretty straightforward writing for these 2. They both just don't want to follow in their parents' footsteps. One of them caves, one of them caves and still does it, the other doesn't. He regrets it. That's that. But one of the things I think is arguably one of the best parts of this episode is when they're walking through the wine tour and everybody's like, I want to go find my birth year for the wine. And he turns and looks at the 2012 wine barrel, which is the year that this interaction happened. And that is what's on his mind, because it is the only thing on his mind. And the fact that our bartender picks up on it and serves him that year wine at the end of the episode as a point.
Because he's based.
I think that is really cool and a neat tie around and maybe the nice bow on the end of this. I'm still at the point where I don't think this moves this show immensely anywhere for me.
I do want to say one thing. Is whiskey?
Sorry, I've been saying wine. You're absolutely right. My brain just.
I understand.
I auto-filled an alcohol word.
No,
that
you're
was
fine.
what that was. Correct. It is entirely all whiskey.
Also, I do want to mention as well, I fucking lost it at one point. I messaged Sean when I was watching.
No, you messaged the group chat.
I messaged the group, but when I was watching this, but she got some schmoves. Why was that bit of animation of her dancing just weirdly good?
Yeah.
For no reason compared to the rest of this show.
No,
I thought the same thing. I'm like, why is that animation really good?
It was so clean.
Michael, I will give you that. I think everything about the backstory is really cool. It is really well done. It's greatly executed. The romance is good. I just don't have any reason to care about it. That's my thing. It's also I get it for his character. He's he's at least somewhat a human in that backstory, and he's very much not post. Where you would think there might be a little more that he's willing to give. I also just don't think anything else in the episode is particularly good outside of this bit. I think it's a jarring jump to get here. It's an odd place to get. I think I argue that we should have been introduced to this character outside of this episode in some way. I would have less of a problem with it if it didn't feel so wholly contained into this episode.
So I will say this: he did show up in the Mr. Perfect episode.
Yeah,
he's not introduced. he was
They,
in the background and had a line, I think.
and realistically, this is what the end of last week's episode was his teacher going, "Hey, can you do me a favor and invite him on this trip so he can learn a thing or two?" Like, and that is, so clearly there is a setup here. This show takes place in 2024?
Uh-huh.
I'm sorry, you
Yeah,
want me to believe what?
Which is probably why it got remade.
Because they have smart...
Well, no,
I-
it probably takes place in 2024 because it is this version.
Yeah.
The original probably took place in 2006.
Yeah.
Yeah, I find it really hard to believe that I'm supposed to be sold that the current timeline is 2024. Because it definitely feels like older. It does feel like early 2000s. They have smartphones, yes. There is like one influencer bartender we've seen. I don't know. I personally think I am
I
far
just
more...
like the vibes of the show.
I think I am
I agree it has
far
good vibes,
more...
but I just think it's not as good as some other shows.
I am far more interested in everything else than this. I think everything else has at least built longer up to something I am more engaged with, and while I might have liked a segment of this episode, I don't think I have any reason to believe that it's going to win me over, because while it might have had a good vignette here, it hasn't in the past 4 episodes. Like, I have not cared. Its writing has been so on the wall. This is an anomaly in how it's performed otherwise. And while that could be argued as a reason to give it a chance, I don't think anything else to me performed poorly enough to argue that it deserves more than anything else on the chopping block, at least for me.
That's reasonable. I think L plus ratio.
And there we go. Well, ladies and gentlemen, Windbreaker, Spice and Wolf, Kaiju number 8, and Yatagarasu are all fully safe, no slays. We have 1 slay on Girls Band Cry, and Jellyfish, and Go-Go, and Whisper Me a Love Song, and we have 2 slays on Bartender. And thus, Bartender leaves this week.
Not a lot of commitment in slays, guys.
Yeah, that's great. I could have done something funny, and I could have caused a fucking wheel with Go-Go today. What the fuck?
I mean, the only and look, I voted my bottom show. The only other show above it would have, well, I think from my list would have been Spice and Wolf, and I wasn't voting it this week.
If people call
That's
the
for
wheel,
sure.
If you guys called the wheel with Whisper and Bartender, I might have screamed.
If you guys caused a wheel with Go-Go and Bartender, I also would have screamed, because that is insane to me.
Listen, but I've been cucked before, and I would literally be so tilted.
I mean,
Who slayed Go-Go? John?
No.
it was John.
Okay, wild.
Wild to me.
Slaying your middle of the pack show.
Listen, you play to the outs of the shows you want to save.
Well, John, the part that's wild to me is that you slayed Go-Go, but you didn't slay Yatagarasu.
I actually liked it this week. I thought it was good.
Okay.
Go-Go's fine, but I'm just like I'm more interested in where Yatagarasu could go than I am where Go-Go's going. If that makes sense. Despite the ranking.
Fair enough, I guess.
I think that is fair. I don't know. I went into this week very much feeling like Bartender hadn't earned any farther than where it was for me. Like, of everything we have, I am more interested to get one more week of everything else and then start really saying, this has gotta go, this has gotta go, this has gotta go. Like, this was the other show where I was like, I think this can go, and I will be completely satisfied with watching everything else.
Fair enough. Either way, it has been decided. Goodbye, Bartender.
Like, this week was difficult because like other things that would potentially, like, for me, out of like the trifecta of shows we are talking about is like a triangle of what's better. Like, I think Jellyfish is the weakest in my mind, but I really liked Jellyfish this week and didn't want to vote it off, which is why I didn't do it. I really like Whisper. Wasn't gonna vote it. I loved Girls Brand Cry. I'm not putting a slay on Spice and Wolf while Bartender's still on this podcast.
Thank you, my hero.
And I arguably, it maybe shouldn't even get a slay after that, but I personally like the other shows more than Spice and Wolf right now for me. That's where that is. That's the odd feeling of this season. This next episode will be very important for all of these shows. Because it will definitely probably split the pack on some things for me. And again, I don't think Bartender's bad. I just think it's the weakest.
The hardest
overall.
show to not go and watch ahead, like, because sometimes you get that issue of, man, I just want to know. It's so close. It has to be Wind Rider. Where you're
Windbreaker?
like, man, I just want to see some dudes beating up dudes, some dudes beating up dudes. You know what I'm saying? Just like, it's a real dude on dude action, you know.
It is definitely it in Kaiju for me. I know Michael has a problem every week where he could just fucking binge Girls Band Cry right now.
Understandable.
He's twitching. He wants to do it.
That's just the reason for us to vote Girls Band Cry out so Mike can watch all of it.
No, it's fine. There's only like 2 episodes because of how long
Yeah.
it takes him to do the subtitles. They're only out there.
Yeah.
So it's
Damn, now he's like he's animated.
There's only
Girls
2
Band
episodes
Cry.
past where we technically only 1.
That was
my
rude.
internet's been
That was
getting
rude.
fucked up constantly.
That was a fucked up comment though.
Considering overall, I think Girls Band Cry actually looks really good.
It looks fine, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that is that. We will continue next week.
See ya.
Have a good night, everybody.